This segment, we really want to offer opportunity for, again, the powerhouse group of folks here who've been in the Salem community for quite some time in the nonprofit space to continue to share their expertise. I have a series of questions. I know y'all got some questions, so there'll be some opportunity for us to do both. So how this will work is I'm gonna skip Kyle for right now since he just spoke and talked about himself, and we're gonna go down the line and have each person share just who they are, how they got engaged in the community. Actually, we're gonna say that question. Who are you and what do you do now? And then I have some questions that will talk about how you got engaged and whatnot. So, and I believe there's a microphone here as well. It's more so for the camera setup. So please grab the mic and share, okay, Sue, who you are.
Okay, Sue Bloom. Until last Friday, I was 15 years with the Boys and Girls Club that serves Salem, Marion, and Polk counties. I have a phone number for you to call to engage. Absolutely. And thank you to your company for making that time. It's really important. My new role will be, I'll be now consulting. My first project, I was just sharing with Jacob, my first project is working with a local family foundation. We will be breaking ground on a new community resource center in Northeast Salem next to a Boys and Girls Club near Chemeketa in a high needs area. And I'll be working on the building, getting the building built, tenants in, programs and services, operating systems, all those kinds of things. So I'm super excited about my next chapter.
That's good. Yes, thank you. Yes.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kelly Carlisle. I am currently the Director of Operations for Isaac's Room. So when you have that cup of coffee at Isaac's downtown or at the Ike Box or at the square inside the YMCA, I get to be involved with that. So it's a wonderful organization. I've been with them for about 4 years. Prior to that, I was, for a very short period of time, the executive director. I was the last executive director for the Salem Kaiser Education Foundation. And there's a story there that I would love to share if we get into it. But I came away from that experience with this deep appreciation for the nonprofit community and the web that we're talking about. It's these people here who helped us bring the final chapter of SCAF into a safe landing. And that's what our community needs and expects from the nonprofit community and deserves. So I am thrilled to be here and share from my own experience and learn from everybody else's experience.
Yes.
Good morning. I'm Rhonda Wolf, and I'm currently the CEO of United Way of the Mid-Willamette Valley, and have had an opportunity to work with all of these wonderful people. However, my career actually started 45 years ago with the YMCA. So, and there's a story there as well. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for day one at the YMCA. And I'm just happy to be here. Thank you.
That's good. Yeah.
Did I do it? No.
Yeah, thank you. And this is Kyle. So I love that you're already sitting in your seats. This is great. This is great. I love that. You have to sit here. We planned that. Actually, thank you. I would love to start there. One question I have is just how you got started and involved in nonprofit work. I don't think you necessarily just woke up and said, I'm gonna be CEO today. But would love, you said you had a story to share, but how did you get started in nonprofit work, Rhonda?
Yeah, I'd love to share that. First of all, I want to say, okay, the picture, but that picture actually was taken in the Wallowas along the canyon. And so when Kyle was talking about rest, that's where I go to rest. So,
good.
Thank you.
Good.
Yeah, I started at the YMCA back in 1980, and it was actually a job to get me through college. I folded towels down in the basement of the Y here in Salem. I didn't think that was going to be my career, and I did that for a couple years, and then just opportunities kept arising at the Y. The youth sports director, they left, and it was only a 10-hour-a-week job. And I, of course, through my high school career, played basketball, and I said, well, I want to do that. So we added that to my job. And then not too long after that, the court sports, which is racquetball, handball, that person left. I've never played racquetball a day in my life at this point, and I said, I can do that. But part of that job was giving racquetball lessons, which I knew nothing about. So I quickly learned to play racquetball so that I could teach lessons. But where the real changing point was for me was in 1984, the head of the camping department asked me if I would direct day camp. Again, I never went to camp as a kid. And I'm like, why would you hire me to do something I know nothing about? And she said, well, I notice your organizational skills, and a lot of what you do at camp has to do with organization. And so she took a chance on me and gave me a job that I knew absolutely nothing about. And she trained me, well, needless to say, I was the camp director for the next 10 years after that. And then after that point, I always had my eyes on the CFO position. Again, not ever taking accounting, none of that. I graduated with a degree in psychology. And so I asked the business director, when she hired me, I said, why are you hiring me for this job? And she said, because what I've learned in my career is that it's a lot easier for me to train someone that doesn't think they know it all versus getting someone here who thinks they know it all and then doesn't want to change how they do things. And so once again, she gave me a chance at the YMCA, where I then worked for the next, up until 2011 at the Y, and it was all because people gave me chances along the way.
That's good.
And from there, I went to the United Way, and kind of the same thing happened. I started there as the CFO, and then someone took a chance and gave me the opportunity to then lead the organization after that. But I really do, when I think about how I got to where I am today, I go back to 1984 when I was given an opportunity to rec summer camp.
That's great. Thank you. Yeah. Kelly, same question.
Yep, thank you. So I had a full career in public education. I started as a high school music teacher, then a high school principal, then I moved into the district office with Salem Kaiser as the director of high schools, and then finished in my education career as the assistant superintendent for the district. Then fast forward, the position at SCEF came open for executive director, and I really wanted that. I wanted to be so involved with the Awesome 3000, which, by the way, is happening tomorrow, thanks to the United Way. And that's, again, part of the story, right? The handoff of the Awesome 3000. We weren't sure what was going to happen as we were trying to dissolve SCEF, but so many organizations stepped forward and said, we'll take care of this for you. And so that feels really, really good to know that kids are going to be running around that track, and there's a gazillion volunteers. We're talking about volunteerism, right? It's the 400 volunteers are going to be helping put that event on. And that's tremendous and so gratifying, right? Same thing with the Crystal Apple. The fact that that's still happening, even without SCEF in existence any longer, just as a testament to the people who stepped forward and said, we need this to continue. And so I'm thankful for all of that. And I guess while I'm on this topic, I want to say that a thing that I noticed about SCEF as I came into the position was it was so different than any other education foundation in the state of Oregon. And different isn't necessarily bad or good, but I knew going into it, together with the board members, we needed to chart a new path that would help SCEF stay in its lane in ways that it hadn't for a while. And that's not a criticism on what had been before, but just if we were going to be viable in the future, we were going to need to be more like foundations around the rest of the state and stop competing with the Boys and Girls Club for before and after school childcare, and sports. Stop competing with the YMCA for sports, and instead lean into our identity as a foundation that supports kids and their teachers in the school system. And so I think that would have happened. I think we would have gotten there had it not been for this thing called COVID. And I remember us talking with the board about, you know, if this is going to work, that's great. If it's not going to work, wouldn't it be great if there was just like this lightning bolt out of the sky and it would just end things? And then COVID. Yeah. Okay, I've got our answer. You know, but then, and this is also, I think, really pertinent to our conversation together. You know, dissolving a nonprofit isn't easy, and it's not something you enjoy. But I learned so much about how nonprofits need to work, how they need to interact in the community. And so what a blessing to learn that in that way while all of my peers had my back. So I'm so thankful for that. And so thankful to now be part of an organization, a nonprofit, that understands its lane, isn't trying to change who we are, but instead really lean into this work that we're doing on behalf of youth to help them develop the capacity to rise to the challenges of life. That's what we do in Isaac's Room. So I'm thinking about, Grant, your conversation about what you're doing and wondering the tension that you're feeling, et cetera. And it just keeps coming back to me. You know your lane, and scaling it may or may not mean go bigger. It may mean lean into what you do. The rest will come to you. So I want to say that, and there's probably more conversation about that if we want to have it. But anyway, that's my path.
I love it. That's good.
Okay, man, thank you for that. So many of those pieces, and I've got a story, but I'll save it for later. So I, first half of my career was actually with State Farm Corporate. There was a regional office here. We lived in California. We moved up here with the company, and while I was at State Farm, they would loan employees to United Way as a loan executive, and we would, as a PAC, we would go out and help do campaign events or conversations at businesses here in town. School district was one of my biggest accounts, and I met Kathy there. So I got to know a lot of community members by virtue of being that loan executive. When our son, and I loved it, I did it for several years. When our youngest was gonna be a senior in high school, State Farm just said, we're gonna close this office. We're gonna move 1,000 people out of the community. If you wanna keep your job, you're going to DuPont, Washington. And we said, no, we're not. No, we're not. That's not fair to our child, right? And so after a period of time, both my husband and I, those Joes, we were done, right? And so I had a long relationship with United Way. They had a part-time campaign manager opening, so I started with that. And I was with State Farm. I was with United Way for 10 years, and I sat in all the seats, including Rhonda's, except for the CFO. You don't want, yeah. That was one I chose not to even ask for. One of my when I'd go out on those campaign calls, one of my a request was often bring the Boys and Girls Club along because they do great work in the community. We want to learn more. So I got to know some of the staff at Boys and Girls Club. And when I was done at United Way, I was working at the chamber with their teen workforce development program, and somebody slid me an opening at the club for their chief operations officer. It's like, I want to go play with these people, right? And so that's how I got there. And now, just recently, like I said, I've sat in all the seats at Boys and Girls Club, save for CFO, no, not me. The 15 years was really a gift, really a gift. So now on to the next adventure. And really quick, so competition, and right, saturation, we're not duplicating all the things, but a fortuitous thing that occurred because of the competition that was sensed with SCEF was the club performed a needs assessment for Salem Kaiser School District, and what we looked at was test scores, crime, lack of after-school program near a school. There was one other thing. And we had all these, so we mapped it, right? We didn't map it. So it was mapped that there'd be these big red blobs of need within our community. And when we mapped after school, it was us, it was the Y, it was SCEF. And the biggest ball of need happened to be in Northeast Salem, where we now have a Boys and Girls Club. And we had a relationship with the Epping family already, just in the grant way. But when I shared that need in that area and the lack of resources for those kids, literally about 6 months later, one of the family members called and said, my dad said, when we get rid of this property, the family had raised their kids on where this campus is now. My dad said, when it's time to sell the property, you decide what to do, whatever the highest and best use is for that property, you go for it. Instead of selling it 3 acres for I don't know how much for commercial property, they called me up and said, we want to build a Boys and Girls Club. What do you think? Wow. It's like, well, knock me with a feather. Let's do it, right? So let's go.
That's a phrase.
It's crazy, but it was that network. It was how do we make sure that we're serving the kids that we need to serve in our community, and then this beautiful, wonderful thing happened. So
That's awesome.
thanks for letting me share that.
Yeah, thank you.
It's a small world and a tight web.
After all.
That'll be in my head all.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Kyle.
You're welcome. My nonprofit journey started when I graduated from Sacramento State University. Go Hornets, Stingers up. We just hired Shaquille O'Neal to be the GM of
Yes,
our
you did.
basketball team.
Yes, you did.
That's ridiculous.
That's dope.
Anyway, I got connected to a on-campus group called InterVarsity Christian Fellowship that mentors college students, organizes college students, does a lot of leadership training and development, and also requires its staff to fundraise their entire budget. So I said yes to that, and that's where I learned how to fundraise. That's where I learned how to write appeals, to work with alumni, to make presentations in churches, to do all this kind of work. And that work led Joy and I. We got married in that process. That led us to San Francisco, where I worked at San Francisco State, which was awesome. I loved San Francisco State. I thought I was going to be a history teacher. And was really into Rage Against the Machine. That's still one of my favorite bands of all time. So I thought I was going to be that teacher that was like leading a revolution all the time.
That's awesome.
So landing at San Francisco State, where we were protesting something pretty much every single day, was like the best. So that's where I got to work for a couple of years, and then we had our first child, Mia. And then I ended up leaving university because I was faced with a choice of taking some time to fundraise or spend more time with the students and on campus. And because I didn't want to fundraise, that's going to come back. Because I didn't want to fundraise, I left. I left a movement and an organization that I loved and had given me so much to go work at a church and manage volunteers. And a church in the Mission District of San Francisco with about 200 volunteers I got to manage. And so got to use my volunteer management skills on a much different scale for a very different place. While I was there, doing that, we had our second, and my wife had moved into she had been a grant within grant making organizations, and then she became a grant writer, so she became in the grant seeking space while I was managing volunteers. And then we had Nathan, and we looked at each other and went, this is hard. I don't know if we can afford to live here on these 2 full-time salaries in the city. And so we actually moved out of San Francisco back to Sacramento and started looking for work, mostly for me. And I ended up applying for the development director position at Union Gospel Mission Salem. And we didn't know anybody in Salem. We had family in Vancouver, Washington, and that was close enough, I guess. So applied, got the position, and started as the development director for UGM. And this is where I learned fundraising on a much different scale, and learned much more about direct marketing, major donor management, campaigns, fundraising events, these types of things that I had to jump into immediately and learn quickly. And I loved it because so much of it was volunteer management, engaging with bigger crowds, writing appeals, all these kinds of things that I didn't know that I knew, but I got to learn even more about. So I was at UGM for about 3 years, helped start the capital campaign that is now the building across from the Salem Police Department. We raised about $1 million in that first year and then had a significant leadership change. Our CEO and COO left within about a 3-month period of each other. And it was rough during those days to remain there and think through what we were going to do next. All the while, my wife had been building a book of business, because once people find out that there's a grant writer in town who's good at it, gets a lot of calls. So she was gaining a lot of clients, and we were experiencing a pretty significant transition at the mission, and we made the choice, Joy and I, to go in it together. We had done the InterVarsity work together, so we thought, let's do this. And it was at that point that I started getting some kind of contract work here and there, and then a group out of independents reached out, and actually I was connected to them from Sam Skillern at Salem Leadership Foundation. They needed to finish a capital project on a building across the street from Central High School in Independence. They had been doing this campaign for about 13 years, and the community in Independence was wondering, where's our money? Where's the building? So 35-year-old Kyle, a little bit of a hot shot, had to go out to Independence from West Salem and figure out how to manage that campaign. It was slow going, and we got to about $1.5 million. They had built up some reserves, so we got to about $1.5 million in a couple years. And then we went to some major foundations for funding, and they both said, we're not doing this. And so we said, all right, well, we're done. This campaign's done. Build the building. It'll be $1.5 million, even though we were hoping it was going to be about $3 million to build it. So we pushed out a communication to all the folks that had given us money, who had been asking me, where's my money? That's a fun question to answer, isn't it, Kelly? And on one of the folks that received that letter said, we need to sit down and talk, because they had just sold their business to another major company in the Seattle area. And they had about $2 million cash that they wanted to give us to make sure that the building across the street from Central High School was nice and not full of used furniture for the kids. So the building went from 1.5 million to 3.5 million, and it was at that point that I said, okay, well, I think my work here's done.
Good work.
Not expecting that to happen, but sometimes that happens within fundraising. Sometimes the timing is just right. So it was awesome to be a part of that. Awesome to watch that building go up, and it is still going strong in that area as a much-needed resource for the kids out in that community. At that point, I had started working with Isaac's Room to help them think through campaigns. So MJ and I got to work together for a season on the campaign that eventually led to the opening of Isaac's downtown. So that was fun to work with them. So in my work with this organization out in Independence called The Gate and with Isaac's Room, I got to work with a couple of founders. So I was building muscle for what I didn't know that I needed yet in terms of working with a founder and what that was like and how deeply tied that can be to somebody, the work that they get to do. So I wasn't busy enough working with a couple of clients managing campaigns that I started to work on my MBA at George Fox because I had a couple of meetings with folks who were generous enough to sit with me and say, I think what you don't have yet in order to take on more leadership are these things. Your business acumen isn't where it needs to be. Your personality might be where it needs to be, but your business acumen behind that'll sustain you in leadership, not quite there yet. So I pursued my MBA at George Fox. While I was in the MBA at George Fox, I got recruited by the head of HR at George Fox to run their fundraising department. So I was running the fundraising department and getting my MBA at the same time. What was I thinking, MJ? That's crazy.
It's a good idea.
So I did that. So went back into higher ed and fundraising. Loved doing that. And then this little thing called COVID hit after my first year on the job. And we had to relearn everything that we knew about effective alumni relations, fundraising. Managing fundraisers is hard when they're just getting to know people and having to work remotely. So I got to experience that. And the George Fox experience really gave me a lot from a management and leadership perspective, stuff I just didn't know at that point or hadn't experienced yet about hiring and firing and those types of things. So after a period of doing that, after about 3 years of doing that, some family things were happening that just required Joy and I to change course again. And required more of my time with my kids as they were new in a community and were struggling. The option for me was to either become a VP level at a university or take good care of my family. And I chose to take good care of my family, and I don't regret that for 1 second. And so I moved back into the consulting space in 2022. And was asked later in the year of 2022 if I would be willing to lead the succession plan for Salem Leadership Foundation. And I said, yeah, let's do it. Let's go. 2023 rolls around and I start asking questions of key stakeholders for Salem Leadership Foundation about what the next executive director needs to be like. And a few of those answers were, it needs to be you. Why aren't you applying for this position? To which I said, the time isn't right. I am needed in some different ways that require my time and energy, and I don't think the time is right for me to consider this a move. That was my answer until May, when I was sitting across from my wife on a date night talking through how her clients were doing, how my clients were doing, succession planning. We were both working on it for 2 different organizations. And I'll never forget the sip of wine that my wife took, and then she put down her glass and said, I just had lunch with my best friend today, and she said that you just need to apply for the position at Salem Leadership Foundation, and then we'll figure it out once you get here. I said, but I've been telling everybody that it's not time. She said, let's think about this a little bit longer. You're probably noticing a good through line of my wife is a very wise person. She very much is. I am very lucky, very blessed to have her as a partner. So I applied for the position, which meant forfeiting 6 months of work to see if I could get a position that I didn't know if I was going to get. And I went through that process and was named the successor in the ED position, which led us to move back to Salem, and we're really, really grateful to be home. So now I get to do work for an organization that I love, that's connecting people to really important things. That's my journey.
I love it.
Yep.
Oh yeah, we'll clap for you.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! No.
Thank you.
That's for all of us. It's for Kelly.
While I have a couple questions that I definitely want to gain their expertise and knowledge in, please feel free to like say right over here, and we'll want to offer the opportunity for y'all to ask the questions as well. Because again, it's not about me. Appreciate the setup. It's not about me. It's about us, about what you would like to hear and see from these expert folks. One thing I will ask, Sue, we'll jump to you first with this one, is because of the years of experience that you all have, I would love to know, when was the moment where you felt like you figured it out?
Yikes. Yikes. Yeah, tomorrow. Absolutely. Monday. That's a interesting question. And when we were so we started our capital campaign for that clubhouse spring of 19. We all know what happened in spring of 2021. So we were in a $15 million capital campaign, and we went remote. But anyway, I think it's during that capital campaign, and COVID, because we were in our clubhouses 10 hours a day. We were a comprehensive distance learning center for our members. So those kids came every morning, we fed them, we took them to school, and then they got to be kids in the afternoon and just play and be kids, right? And it was so stressful. You'd go 2 steps forward, or maybe 1 step forward and 2 steps back, depending on what was happening with the pandemic. And we were trying to raise $15 million. Was at a board meeting, some kind of meeting with all my board leadership, and one gentleman who I admire greatly, he said, "So you got this. I can tell. I just see it in your eyes. You got this." And it was like, cool. Finally, 12 years later. But it was that, I think it was the combination of the audacious goal of building this building in a neighborhood where those kids really, really need it, what's happening with our current kids and COVID, and just like the kids that we serve at the club, those are my kids, right? And so you've got to make it happen.
Yeah.
And I'd always felt that, but I think it was just that the immense tension at that time that's like, no, we're not failing.
Yeah.
We're doing it.
That's
So,
good. That's good.
it's
Wow.
good.
I think I heard a number. You said 12 years later?
Well,
Still?
Yes.
And tomorrow? Okay. I got some time.
it's evolution.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the longer I live, the less I have figured out.
Right.
And I just keep wanting to show up and be part of something that I believe in, honestly. And so getting my coffee every morning from youth who just a few months before, when they entered our program, and they wouldn't even look you in the eye because they had been told so many times that they'll never amount to anything, right? That's what they believe. And they certainly think that adults aren't going to take them seriously. So then, just a few months into a program and a place where you are safe, you have a sense of belonging, you have a sense of contribution and influence. When you have those things, life changes for you. And we have this opportunity in Isaac's room to watch that transformation happen. So I guess that's what I have figured out, is I just want to be near that. I want to serve it in the capacity as director of operations. And, I think opportunities come when you just feel a nudge and you say yes to the nudge. So.
That's good. Thank you.
And that's board service too, right?
Yeah.
It's not just employment, but it's like, I want to be a part of
Yeah,
what's happening.
or committee,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so I still don't have it either. But when I first realized I was committed to nonprofit work was probably 1987, and when I was still at the YMCA. And I had left for a short period of time to go up to Alaska to spend some, my roommate from college was from Alaska, and so we went up and worked for her dad for a while. And when I left, I thought, I'm never going back to the YMCA. You know, ridiculous. So guess what? I came back to the YMCA, and it wasn't so much because of the job that I was doing, but it was the people. I really found myself drawn to the people. And I know this sounds kind of cliche. I even say it sounds cliche, but it really was about making a difference in people's lives. And that's why I've stayed with nonprofit work.
Yeah, that's good. One thing that I'm interested to hear from you all too is that, and so you alluded a little bit, there's like various entry ways to get into nonprofit service and nonprofit work. You find your passions, you find your values, you get engaged, you get involved, but I'm interested to know like the tactical ways, like what are the ways that somebody who is like, hey, I'm seeing this, I want to get engaged and get involved, how do I do that? What are some ways that you have either designed that opportunities or created those opportunities tactfully, anyone to share for somebody to get involved in nonprofit work?
Kyle was sweaty down here, so we're all touching.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry. Sorry.
Clip that up.
You saw it, he handed it to me like
She was like,
this.
sorry.
Dripping.
When call and say, I want an appointment, I want a tour, I would love to learn more about your organization. We love that.
Yes.
We want chief recruiting officer, right? We want to share our story. We want to tell you about how you can become engaged. It could be with an event, it could be, board service, it could be episodic volunteering. I taught kids how to sew buttons on a scrap of fabric, right? But that was that's a life moment. That's a life lesson.
Yeah.
So I think one is we love it. So just call and test drive things, right? The first board I sat on here in town just happens to be what was the predecessor of SCAF, Salem Schools Foundation. And my neighbor was involved in it, and she's like, why don't you just come on over, see what we do. I ended up being on that board for 10 years, chaired the Awesome for I don't know how many years. And the other cool part to it is I met amazing people in town that were very engaged. A lot of us were younger in our careers, but that connectivity that we keep alluding to, that sticks with you. You know people that know people that know people and can connect you or add that layer of belonging to what you do. So call and ask, raise your hand, and you can just continue to add layers. You find your fit, you can just continue to add layers. But also, well, it'll be another question. I'll wait.
Ditto. And I kind of feel like a good starting place is if a particular nonprofit organization is kind of speaking to you for some reason, really focus in on their mission statement. And then when you have the conversation with somebody, if they're on the board or they're on staff or whatever, keep bringing them back to, well, how are you fulfilling the mission? Here's what I read. Tell me how you're doing that. And then I'd like to maybe help contribute in a way, or maybe it's serving on a committee or it's volunteering for a particular activity. And that's going to be different for each organization. Isaac's Room has this much volunteerism as compared to the Awesome 3000 event all by itself has this much, right? But we still need volunteers. We also need committee members. We also need board members. So that networking of friends that you know and people that are connected already with a nonprofit, that's a good way to kind of get your inroad. But I would start with know their mission statement, and is that speaking to you? Is that your passion?
Yeah.
So I just want to speak a minute to connectivity, because, and this is a little bit selfish, I guess, if you will, but United Way right now, we get to reap the benefits of the Awesome 3000, But you know what? The Awesome 3000 wouldn't be here if it hadn't been for Kelly, if it hadn't been for Sue and others that started that back in 82. And Derek, I know you were part of SCUF as well. And the volunteer committee that puts this on every year, or is key in putting it on, those volunteers started back with SCUF. So though we get to rah, you know, and take the kudos for Awesome 3000, it wouldn't be happening today if it hadn't been for the connectivity of the other organizations. So thank you.
That's good.
Are you ready? I'm ready. Are you sure? Yeah. Your rates are worth it.
Yeah, totally.
Your rates are worth it. And what you're doing in your work as a personal trainer matters a ton for your clients. And your client base of folks that pay for your services will be outstanding donors for your passion of providing that service, because they will understand it at a deep, deep level. So keep doing the work, keep charging what you're worth based on what the market says you should charge for the work that you do as a personal trainer. And keep in mind that those people are the best people to ask for the thing that you want to do, for the folks that don't normally get to do what you provide.
There you go.
Yeah. One of the things that I think is the biggest hurdle for people getting into fundraising or even thinking about starting a business and these kinds is it's the money. It's always the money piece. It is always the money piece. Because there is so much of like our identity that is wrapped up into money. Mm-hmm. It's just there. Let's just call it out, name it for what it is. And once you can see money as it is a rate of exchange. That is literally what it is. It is not something that should control us, but it is a tool to use to build and develop relationships. We're going to be a lot better off. We're going to be a lot better off. Yeah. Yep. Anybody else want to respond to that?
Thank you for what you're doing.
Yes.
Absolutely.
100%. That's awesome.
That's good.
Yep.
Nice. Sweaty Mike.
Tell them what you want to do. I think that's usually our first question for folks is, we've got a laundry list, like you just said, but it's like, what are you excited about? Like I told you, I help kids learn how to tie a knot in thread and sew buttons. I mean, that's not real exciting, but just tell them what you want to do. They're looking for ways to, nonprofits are looking for ways to engage folks with what they're passionate about.
Yeah.
So, yeah, put the laundry list aside or use it, but just tell them what you want to do and how you're going to do it, right? Yeah. So we had I'll hand this to you, Rhonda. We had a individual who had a background in social work, and we had a little boy, he was a 7-year-old that had some real unique challenges. And so we worked with the volunteer and the little boy's family, and Kelly would come in 3 days a week and just be by him so that when something happened that threw him off, she could be there to just help him settle. Mm-hmm. And that was a huge gift for this little boy because he was able to continue to come to the club and engage all the things that he loved to do. So ask the question.
Ask the question. That's good. Yep.
I think the other thing is, to piggyback on what Sue said, is sometimes nonprofits, we don't always know what we need in volunteers until you come and say, hey, I have this skill. And then we start thinking, and that's a good thing. One of the, it wasn't something planned, but out of it we got a lot of volunteers. It was when COVID happened, and we immediately, United Way, went in, set up the resource hub.
Yeah.
And that actually helped us springboard into the community resource center that we operate today over off of Front Street, which is now about a $7 million a year of goods going out to the community. But it was that event where we got a lot of volunteers that have now stayed with us because they jumped into that and then through that found out what United Way was all about, and also found out their passion for helping the community. And one of those is now our board president. and he probably would never have found his way to United Way had it not been for that event. So not an event that I want to duplicate. But
No.
I think it's also possible that, the way you want to volunteer your time is ABC, and the volunteerism that I need is XYZ. And so that might not be a match, but I bet I know somebody who needs the ABC. And again, because of the network, we probably know somebody that would be a better fit,
That's good. Thank you. I want to thank you all for the opportunity to share your expertise and your stories and experiences of what you've seen in your journey in nonprofit space, giving a lot of new ideas, a fresh perspective of one, that we're still figuring it out. I appreciate that message. That is not an arrival. It's just a continuous journey. And along the way, you find somebody that notices you and gives you a chance. You take a chance and you step into roles that might be just outside your realm, but just enough to say, you know what, I have a little bit of confidence to take this on. And then again, you're not doing it alone, right? It is a communal space. You have people, you have your peers, you have folks around you who also want to see this work continue and thrive. So thank you for sharing that. If you were to provide one final takeaway as we begin ready to head into the end of the day, it's still morning. As we continue into our day, what would you say is one final takeaway that you can give to the audience as we get ready to depart? We'll start with you.
Okay. Oh, man. I gotta think of one thing.
Or you want to go last?
I don't want to go first.
Okay, thank you.
Too much pressure, Kyle.
Bring it. I think I've heard it a couple times already up here, and I think I'm hearing it from all y'all out there too. As you think about engaging in the nonprofit space or engaging in something that aligns with your values and purpose and these types of pieces, it is so important to listen to your trusted advisor or trusted advisors as you are talking through, I'm thinking about doing this. I think I'm leaning toward getting involved in this way. That's the community piece. The community is the solution piece, to have that other person next to you going, yeah, do it. I'll come with you. Yeah. Let's go. We need that. There's trusting your own voice and those kinds of things, or it could just be the burrito that you ate earlier in that day that's leading you in that way. It's really important to have partners in your life that go, let's go. You're right. Listen to it. Let's go together.
Good.
Totally. I agree completely with that, Kyle. And the other layer is, and Kelly mentioned this, do your homework, have the conversations, understand mission and vision and opportunities, then follow your heart, because it will take you places that it's going to make life good. So listen to your heart.
I think I would just add teamwork relationships really prevail in nonprofit spaces. I would not readily trust someone who says, I did it, as much as when people say, we did it, right? And that's kind of repeated itself over and over in the work that I've been privileged to be part of in the nonprofit space.
Well, Sue took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say, follow your heart. And if you come to United Way and you want to volunteer and we don't really have that position or what you're looking for, we know people who do, or organizations that do. And we are more than happy to pass you along and get you connected.
Yeah. Awesome. Hey, can we give our panelists a hand? Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. All right.
I get the privilege of kind of concluding this, and first I just have to say thank you. Like, this is a group of people that are friends, they're mentors, they're inspiration to me, and it was interesting when I called, there was zero hesitation. The answer is yes, we'd love to help, which to me is a testament not only to their organizations, but to the community as a whole. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Just for the record, so the space you're in right now, like, it is a core value and anthem to give back. So if your organization needs this space, use it. We've got 4 conference rooms over there. We can breakout sessions. We really, really want to help the community. This is a unique space. There was a lot of intentionality. Oh, thank you. It's sweaty, Kyle. I feel like I'm picking on Kyle a lot today. I do love you. That's right. So it's a unique space. There was a lot of intentionality behind it. If your organization needs it, reach out to myself, reach out to Anne Marie, and we can make that happen. So as we're closing, just a couple, kind of 3 themes I really had really quickly, kind of our why for Jacob and Ray and I, a couple guilty admissions on my part, and then some calls to actions. So first off, the why. It's like we talked a lot about the connectivity, the community. That was a resounding theme today. This is a continuation of that. But then we're seeing declines in volunteerism across the board. You know, I've been a volunteer firefighter now for almost 20 years. When I started, we had 140 volunteers. We are down to about 35 at Marion County Fire. And you can extrapolate across all facets of volunteering. You know, Sarah and I were downtown hanging Christmas lights forever. We were down 30% in volunteer hours this year. So we're just trying to help engage and inspire the next generation of volunteers, because we are seeing a little bit of a transition in leadership. We're seeing a transition in a lot of things. So that's kind of the why when Jacob and Ray and I started talking about this. Is it's nothing new. We're not recreating wheels. We're just trying to create that space to try and engage and inspire that next generation. And selfishly, my boys are 12 and 14. I want them to have fond memories of Salem. I want them to be raised to engage and do that stuff. So when they look back, you know, they see that Salem is this amazing place, because, you know, here's where the guilty admission starts. Like in 2021, we took our boys out to a basketball tournament in Boise. Not that they were really good to play basketball in Boise, but there was nothing to do here, right? Everything was shut down. And you roll into Boise, and it was clean, and it was vibrant, and it was engaging. And you come back into Salem, and it was the opposite of that. And I'll be my guilty admission number 1. I was literally Googling houses in Eagle and Boise to buy. But on the other hand, I was calling my friend Jim Vu. And I was like, Jim, I've had a little bit of engagement, but it's either get the heck out of here or roll up my sleeves and get to work. And that was where the Christmas parade was born. It started conversation, then conversation, and my involvement in Salem Main Street Association. And now we're getting ready to enter our 4th year of lighting up downtown and a parade. Thanks to many, many hands in this room, MJ, Sarah, Grant. I mean, a lot of people have helped with that. But those are some of those engaging things. So guilty admission number 1, I was getting ready to move. Now guilty admission number 2 happened yesterday. I was coming into work, and there was one of our unsheltered neighbors who was having a really, really rough day. And I'm over there calling non-emergency, and Bill Pugh comes out from Cozy to Berna. Well, we've been in Happy Valley this weekend for baseball, and same thing. It's clean, it's vibrant. What are we doing wrong? I was like, do I need to move? And Bill put me in my place in the best way possible. It's like, or Derek, you could roll up your sleeves and get to work. Salem was worth fighting for. Like, it's easy to get fatigued, to get worn down, but hopefully with the people in this room, whether you're just starting a nonprofit, whether you're going to transition out to the next chapter of nonprofit, Salem was worth fighting for, and the people in this room can do it, but they can also inspire others. And that is kind of why we were here. So those are my 2 guilty admissions. Calls to action. Connect. Like there's a lot of people, there's a few people in this room I haven't met yet. Connect with somebody else offline, like reach out, get connected, because again, that theme of connectivity, there's a lot of people in this room that if you don't know the answer, we can probably find it for you. So use the people in this room that have been here before. Call to action number 2, if you're on an exec team, if you've got a board, one of my annoyances in nonprofits is wallflower board members, right? So, you know, whether, because there is a difference of an advisory board and a working board, but on either level, you know, reach out to a newer board member, to someone that could be more engaged, you see that potential, call them out a little bit. Like I've been called out several times over my nonprofit adventures, and I'm deeply grateful for that. So if you got someone on your board that needs to be more engaged or is new and starting out, help them out a little bit. And last but not least, tell someone about this. Like Ray and Jacob and I are not trying to monetize this at all. We want to give back. Like, we want to get the next generation. You know, MJ, you said something earlier about how people don't engage on social marketing as much. And I think you're probably right to some level, but what I will say is but this is the What's Happening Salem show. When SB was pushing our Christmas lights this year, we had probably 10 volunteers that had never done it before, that had showed up. So let's figure out the different things that work, reach out, inspire somebody, but direct marketing works. So when you leave here, tell somebody else, not necessarily about this, because hopefully this helps. Tell somebody to get involved. Like, push the comfort zone just a little bit. I mean, the empowerment of if we just inspire one more person to help and give back, will hopefully start the gradual reversal of that trend. So thanks to everybody who was here. Really, really appreciate it. There will be more coming. Our goal with this is that we provide relevant content, whether it's to get people involved, to educate board members. You know, Kelly and I, you know, it was interesting. I told Kelly, I called, I was like, I'm going to give you a carte blanche and say no right off the bat. Because, I mean, for those of us that were involved with SCEF, I mean, Awesome 3000 coming back was finally the last thing I needed for that wound to start closing a little bit more. So thank you for that. But there's really warm, fuzzy, wonderful stuff that comes with nonprofit involvement. There are some tough things, but we can learn from that and we can avoid that from happening in the future, which is one of the things we're hoping to inspire with future chapters of this book. So thank you so much for coming today. Thank you for being involved. Connect, inspire some people, and let's make Salem better, okay?
Let's do it.
Yep.
All right.